Haven't I, iTube? So, I'm full of thanks to everyone who's tuned in right now listening to this. And today, well, right now, it's nighttime. It's very late. But I'm just up because I'm up thinking, meditating on a lot. And I'm sitting in, I guess what people would say, reflecting on my life and where I'm at currently on my journey. And I'm thinking, or I know that I'm going through like a very transformative period. And it's like a lot of chapters that I'm having to like close out. And in closing out these chapters is gonna actually require me to kind of, not even kind of, but it's requiring me to speak on certain things that I've spoken on before, but go more in depth and more, like hone in more on things. And so, as I'm here thinking, meditating to myself, I just decided to let me just share this because it's very important to share what God has put on my heart and to use my experiences as a sort of like reference point or like a mirror to just bring it all home and to hone in. So as like I said, I'm going through like a transformative moment, and a big part of that is coming into womanhood, like really being a woman. And one thing that I know for a fact is when it comes to women, girls, females, transitioning stage to stage is really predicated upon the family structure and the family unit, the village, the indigenous family. And me growing up in the West, growing up in the United States, being raised in that type of environment, that dysfunctional, chaotic, unhealthy, spiritually desolate environment, spiritually impoverished environment, we are kind of, first of all, the family is broken. So even if it looks like there's 2-parent household or whatever the case may be, it doesn't even have to be a single parent household for the family to be broken. And for the values of the family values, it doesn't have to be a single parent household for those values to still not be there. I hope I said that properly. It can be a 2-parent household and it still be a broken family, and those values of the family not being intact and not being the foundation of it. So me using my experiences as this reference point, I grew up in that scenario. I grew up with my father and my mother. So a lot of people would always look at me and say, oh, you got it good because you grew up with your father and your mother, meaning you have both, like you have that element of the man being in the home and the mother being in the home, husband and wife. But I always try to make it a point. I never try to downplay. I don't want to downplay anything, but I just want to make it clear that it's not what it appears to be on the surface, because I grew up with my father and my mother, but I grew up in a broken home. I grew up in a home where my father was not valued as a husband, as a father, as an extension of God. He was not valued as that. And so he wasn't valued as that by my mother, as his wife. So me as a daughter, seeing that any small inkling of respect, of value, of love, of care that I had for my father as a child, slowly over the years of me growing up, slowly, but steadily began to seep into me So any inkling of respect that I did have slowly began to deteriorate, diminish, evaporate. I'm someone, me as a young woman right now, and actually always, I'm someone who really loves and values family, the family structure, the family, the order of the home. I value men. I value myself as a woman, so I value other women, and I value children. I value family structure. However, like I said, using my experiences, being kind of raised in the West, you're not taught, or let me say it this way, you're kind of programmed in a lot of different ways to not have that respect, that value, that love, that care for the family structure. And that has been very detrimental to me because not only have I had a hard time over like not my entire life, but from when I'm starting to deal with boys at young ages and getting into relationships with the opposite sex, dealing with other women, other young girls, becoming a wife, becoming a mother, those transitions have become very hard for me, like I said, because the family structure is not there. There was no women, no elders, no other sisters that were there to kind of shape that and mold that and help me hold that value and that preparation to become a wife, to become a mother. Now, I'm not saying anything to belittle my father, belittle my mother, belittle anyone. I'm just speaking the truth because the West is a very different reality. Africa is broken as well. Nothing is perfect on earth at this point, though they still kind of somehow try at least to have family structure in place. Now, what am I getting at? What am I saying in all of this? Because what does that have to do with me right now? It has been very hard for me. And I'm saying these things right now, I'm being very transparent because I feel like I've spent a lot of time in my life over the years kind of like sulking, but still kind of trying to fight through it. So this is like I'm letting something out, and this is like my last time crying about it. Well, okay, this is not my last time crying about it because I'm going to be speaking about these things more. So I might still cry sometimes because I'm actually kind of emotional and sensitive. So I might still cry about it, but I'm not sulking in it. And anytime that I cry from this moment going forward would be more so like a washing of myself and just me empathizing with just the state of the world, to be honest, and knowing that things are changing, things have to change, and just feeling like the presence of the Most High, to be honest. So, but right now, this is my last time crying from like this is me releasing it and getting over it, and y'all are watching it, listening, because this is a moment that I'm having. So it's been very hard for me over the years, to be honest. Growing up, I knew I always wanted to be a mother. Like I always, not just being a mother, but I always wanted a family. Meaning I wanted to get married. I wanted to have children. I wanted to have a family. the thing though is that growing up where I grew up, in the environment, in the home that I grew up in, and then going out into the world, experiencing boys, other males, having those toxic relationships, not knowing what to do in relationships, seeing everybody else's relationships not working out, people getting married, getting divorced, becoming baby mamas, single moms, all this stuff, that put a strain on me in the sense that I became very scared, because of that can't be what marriage, this can't be what marriage is. This can't be what being a mother is. Like, so even though I wanted to be married, like I wanted to be a wife, I wanted to have a husband, I was scared, very much so scared, to the point where I didn't even though I wanted to be a wife and I wanted to be a mother, I was like, no, I can't be in a relationship with somebody, get married, have children, and become a single mother. And become just like everybody else. Like I can't do that. I can't become a baby mama. Like I'm nobody's baby mama. If I'm not your wife, I'm nothing. If I'm not your wife, I'm nothing. I'm not about to be your baby mama. I'm not about to be a part of that. And so I kind of just, going with the regularly scheduled program, put that behind you and go to school. Focus on your education, focus on your career, and do other great things in the world. Don't focus on men, because men, and they're a headache. They're not this, they ain't that, they're not worth nothing. They don't give you nothing but headaches. You can't depend on them for nothing. All this different stuff. So I embodied that, even though it hurt. Even though it hurt me to do that, I felt like I had no other choice but to do that. Like I literally had no hope for anything dealing with the family. And that's not good. So anyways, it's been very hard for me coming out of that, because I lived like a very large chunk of my life in that rut. So to become, like I said, transitioning from a girl to a young woman, like going through puberty, learning about your body as a young girl, being with other girls, learning about yourselves, being around your grandmother, your mother, your big sister, learning about the responsibilities of being in a home, seeing it from a joyful place, to then have your mom, your sister, your grandmother, all of these, your girlfriends, whatever, to just bask in that, like, transition from being a young girl, then you going into puberty. Now you starting to get ready and really being groomed to be prepared to be a wife now, to be a mother, to take care of the home, to take care of children, to take care of a husband, to take care of just more than just your own body. I didn't necessarily get that. Something as small as I'm not knowing what's going on when I'm developing breasts. Like I get my period and I don't know what's going on with my body. I'm scared. Nobody's talking to me about, oh, this is going to happen to you. Or even just be prepared for this, or just teaching me about my body, how my body works. I didn't necessarily get that transition from that point. So when I start having sex and I lose my virginity, first of all, why wasn't I trained enough to keep myself, to save myself Then I go out into the world and I'm starting to have sex, and then I'm getting, which is another disappointment, because I'm thinking the men that I'm, in my brain, somehow, subconsciously, I'm thinking this guy that I'm losing my virginity to is going to be my husband, and blah, blah, blah. Heartbroken. And even that experience, even more, just being fed even more from outside sources. Oh, just pure chaos. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to go into it. Heartbroken. So the transition, all of that, from being a young girl, having to learn about my body, going into puberty, having sex, just going, not even knowing what to expect about sex, knowing what to expect from sex, or knowing anything about it. What is it? What happens during sex? What does it mean when you have sex? You should be having sex with your husband, not just your boyfriend or whoever you think is your boyfriend. You should be saving yourself for your husband. Because when you get a husband, this is what it's like. This is what you have to do. This is what's required of you. This is what you are responsible for. No examples, nobody to tell me or to teach me, to guide me somehow, even if I'm making mistakes. Anyways, before I go off into this long tangent about these different transitions, my point is that it's been very hard for me because I didn't get any of that coming up like most, I would say, young girls in Africa or in other parts of the quote-unquote world, other countries, continents, specifically in Africa, because I'm an African, quote-unquote African woman as a specimen. So anyways, it's been very hard for me having to learn these things on my own, having to figure these things out on my own. And to be honest, it's kind of, I know I'm releasing it because I'm crying, because I'm kind of wanting to like close this chapter out, because I don't want to sit in this rut anymore. But I'm also realizing I never want any of our daughters to have to be figuring themselves out on their own. Like when I really look and study, not just Africans, but even indigenous tribes, like beyond being African, indigenous people who don't know anything about being African, but they're the original people in Africa. When a woman is giving birth, or she's going through something with her body, she's becoming a mother, young girls are there watching her every single step, watching, learning, being guided to know she's being prepared from birth. But we've been prepared to be just empty vessels. Empty. This is something that my mom actually said to me before, like, oh, you're so empty, you're so empty, you're so empty. And it's true. I was empty because God was nowhere near me. But that means that God was nowhere near anybody. Everyone is empty. No love. Empty. Love is not there. Respect is not there. Care, nothing. I feel like I'm just going all over the place, but my point, what I'm really getting at, is that it's been very hard for me becoming a wife, because I had no idea what that means to be a wife. I have no idea what that means, what responsibilities come with that, nothing. And this was something that was actually very hard for me during my pregnancy, because that wound that that quote unquote mother wound, that yearning, that craving for somebody to be there for me, telling me or guiding me. It was just very loud. Like, it was just very, very loud. And I just couldn't face it by myself, at least. Like, I couldn't face it alone. It was just too much, almost too much for me to bear. Being pregnant, already becoming a wife, I knew nothing about what it takes to be married, what responsibilities come with that. Nothing. Even if I desired it, even that fear, losing hope, somewhere in the back of my mind, like, is this gonna work? Am I gonna be a single mom one day? Like, is this gonna leave me? And like, am I gonna be like my parents or my grandparents? Just everybody living, being together, but nobody's loving each other. Like, so being pregnant, it's like amplified. Like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Who's there? Like, who can I turn to? Who can I turn to? And it's not even just as simple as, oh, call your mother, call this person, call that person, because they don't want to be. A lot of people don't want to, never intended on being a wife, never intended on being a mother. Some people just got married because they got pregnant. Some people got pregnant and was like, well, wow, oops. A lot of people have been born out of that type of spirit. Oops, accidental, and then getting married because of the pregnancy. Because actually, this is maybe, even people, you can say that this is toxic. It is kind of toxic, but it's kind of like a remnant of somehow trying to keep the family together. Because, you know, back in the days, actually, it was a thing traditionally, culturally, for black people in the States. If you get this girl pregnant, you gotta marry her. If you get her pregnant, you have to marry her. That's your responsibility now. Her and the child or children, that's your responsibility. You're a man now. Marry her. I can see how it can be toxic because now they weren't even raised or anything being prepared for that. So you kind of throwing them in it and leaving them. That's a generational curse. That's trash. Not the aspect of taking the responsibility, but the aspect of just throwing them out there. And that's kind of what I feel like I just been thrown out, having to figure it out. And like I said, this is my last time crying about it in a sense of being in a rut, because now I feel like I'm kind of freeing myself from it, and now I kind of feel like I'm ready to really just speak and be myself and speak with the passion and the care and the value that I have for these things, and in hopes that moving forward this can help any sister, any young woman, or even older women, because like I said, the family structure is completely shattered, and we are actually less developed mentally, spiritually, emotionally than we ought to be at our age. That's why a lot of men like to go to other countries like Africa, or they go to other quote unquote cultural groups, ethnic groups, quote unquote, because the women, the young girls, are more developed or more mature in a sense earlier. Like, they've reached that sense of maturity and development earlier because of the family structure being intact still, versus so-called black women in the States, in the Western world, is kind of being hindered because that foundation of the family is being crushed and it's being corrupt, and now it's being replaced with other things like school, career, work. Do all of these other things. Don't focus on family. Don't focus on having a husband. Don't focus on having a wife. Don't focus on children, having those type of responsibilities that are given to us by God. Focus on the world, sustaining the economy. Go play the Monopoly game. Go be on the rat wheel. Go buy your own slave ship so you can have other slaves on it working for you, or thinking that you're doing something else that you don't even know what you're doing. Anyways, I'm just ranting at this point and venting, but I'm being very transparent because, like I said, it's been very hard for me coming up out of this experience that I had, because I felt like very much so hindered, and I just have been for so long wishing that I had somebody to like guide me, wishing that I had somebody to tell me what to do, or at least be there, like holding my hand as I do it or something, just being there with me. And I know that that's the little girl in me that's craving it. So it's not even just, I'm a grown woman now, literally. Literally, like I'm literally a grown woman in so-called age, and hormonally, like I'm a whole wife and a mother. So I'm literally a grown woman, so I know it's literally the little girl in me. So I'm kind of taking this moment to tell the little girl that I love you, and it's all right, cause it's just all right. Like, it's all right. It's all right. I don't even have any other thing to say, but it's all right. So anyways, I know this is a very transformative period for me, because I can just feel it. Like, I can just feel like I can just feel it. And I know that despite how uncomfortable it is, despite how uncomfortable it will be, I have to keep speaking on these things, because it's very healing for me, and it's very beneficial and helpful for other sisters who's watching, because I need, like, I'm now becoming what I needed and what I wish I had, not just for myself, but now for you who's watching right now, and anybody, other sisters who come into contact with me, and even daughters that we have. So, yeah. This is a very long video, but this is what it is what it is. Like, I'm having this moment, and it's not the first time, but this is just the time that I'm recording it and sharing it with you guys. So I know I'm not the only one. And I know this could sound crazy to whoever, whatever the case, but the world is changing. And that's another reason why I know that I'm having this transformative moment, because things are changing. Like, women who are these empty vessels don't have that love of God in them. that era is coming to an end. Like, men and women have to be together joyfully. Joyfully raising children, caring for children, protecting children joyfully. And I'm also telling that young girl in me that became scared, I'm telling her, it's okay to be who you are and who you're created to be. It's okay. It's nothing wrong with valuing your father. There's nothing wrong with valuing and respecting your husband. I'm a mother to a son. Sons, even. What would that mean if I don't value men? How would I be raising a son or sons? So